From the East and the West, you've heard others, but now you've tuned into the best. This is a Prime Wave Media production.
What's up, world? It's the one and only Pop DBICD PrimeTime Capper. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling great. Man, it is Monday, the 27th of February, and we are just kind of cruising through. We are definitely cruising through 2023 kind of quickly. You know what I mean? So pretty much, or just as you get older, the days start to get a lot quicker. You know what I mean? So it is what it is. It's why all these young folks is just always worried about they got nothing but time, you know what I mean? But it's all good. What a sports weekend, to be honest with you, man. Just it was absolutely incredible. There was a lot of great things that happened this weekend. Lots of great, and yesterday was probably the best day there is for the NBA, to be honest with you. Like literally the NBA was cooking yesterday in all senses of the word, because you had awesome performances left and right. I'll talk about it way more after the commercial break, but you cannot not highlight what happened in Portland last night. 71 points for Mr. Dame Lillard. Dame time, East Oakland's finest. He goes ahead and gets himself he has himself a very, very nice game yesterday. And there was just a lot of things that were very, great about what occurred for him yesterday, because there was, it left a lot of haters just kind of mouth dropped, you know what I mean, in a sense. So it's just a beautiful thing to see when a guy can go ahead and do that in a game, and so much pressure's on him about leaving a place, you know what I mean? So, all in all, 71 points last night. Dame was absolutely out of his mind. He was shooting from 45, 50 feet out easily last night, and it was just just a shooting clinic, if anything. But the only thing that was very wrong with that last night is that it gives a perception that this can happen every night for him, with the half-court shots constantly and everything like that. But like I told somebody before, I said he had 41 points. Literally, they started throwing the whole team on him, and he had no choice but to throw the ball up 45 feet out, So he just was really – it's one of those games where he's just feeling it, and he was feeling it tough last night. And, when you're feeling it like that, all you do is just sit back and let greatness happen. A lot of people said that he didn't need to push for 71 last night. Why did he do all that last night? Man, these NBA guys have talked so much about fans and their hard-earned money and being a part of these games and being at the game and all that stuff. Well, you got to put your money where your mouth is. You got to go ahead and actually sit up there and entertain. Dame Lillard is the face of the franchise for the Blazers. And what he did last night was he carried his team to a victory last night. But what he did was he wanted to show his home crowd how much he loves them by going ahead and dropping 71 points last night and giving them a memory for a lifetime. Everybody who was in attendance last night will talk about that game until the end of time. It's that simple, because they were there, they were in the presence, and they were all in. The people that watched every moment of the game last night on television, on whatever network they were able to watch it on, because it wasn't on any like national, it wasn't an ESPN game. It was a game that you watch in Portland and Houston, or if you have the luxury of having the NBA package where you can watch any game you want to, yeah, you got to watch that game last night. But for the people that were able to witness that game live and full, this is a memory that you'll never forget. I know this because I watched I watched every single one of Kobe's 60-plus point games, and the 81 game will always live in my mind forever. I know exactly what day it was. It was a Sunday. It was a Sunday afternoon. It was a Sunday evening game as well, too, against the Toronto Raptors. The Lakers were down by 18, 20 points at one point in that game, and Kobe had 45 points at the half. So he was just a little bit better than Dame at the half, but still, Kobe had the game of games. And Dame last night had the game of games as well, too. So much props to Dame Lillard, to all the people who are just complaining about everything that's going on in NBA basketball. This is something that you don't complain about. You just go ahead and you enjoy it, and you say to yourself that, damn, we might be in the greatest era of scoring ever in basketball. It's that simple. So pretty much let's go ahead and talk about those UCLA Bruins coming up big yesterday in a very hard-fought game. UCLA sweeps the weekend with a close road win over Colorado, winning 60-56, clinched the Pac-12 title and the number 1 seed in the conference tourney. UCLA was absolutely kind of in a trap position yesterday. Let's just keep it real. It was a very, very much so trap game. I said that on Friday afternoon when I did the show as well, that, this would be something that could be a big problem for UCLA if they don't step up. And that actually occurred very early in the game. UCLA started off the game shooting dreadfully. I think they missed their first 12 shots of the game or something like that. And then they were able to get it all together. And luckily, it was a team like Colorado. So when you're playing a team like Colorado, you can get everything together at the right time, and then you can go ahead and get yourself a nice little win there, because that's exactly what UCLA did. UCLA knows what time it is. If they would have lost this game yesterday, they would have dropped probably down to number 9 or maybe 10. You know what I mean? They wouldn't have been right there in the top 5 anymore, because UCLA is going to get penalized because their conference is not good. Colorado doesn't really have good wins on the resume, but they do have the Tennessee win early in the season, which was very, very key for Colorado, because Colorado looked like they were going to be a good team this year. They dominated Tennessee that day. And so you had a lot of thoughts in your head that, hey, Colorado could be a team that bothers UCLA. When they played them at Poly Pavilion, UCLA had real problems with Colorado, but they were able to get over it and win themselves the game that day. So, they wound up winning that game by 14, UCLA. But this time around, this game, they really had to bring out, they really had to bring the hammer. Yaquez was remarkable as usual, shot 50% from the field, hit no threes. They kind of had a little bit of an issue, though. Chris Singleton scoreless yesterday, so his streak is actually broken. Amari Bailey was the guy that they needed most yesterday. He came up big, 50% shooting, and he had some clutch buckets there at the end of the game as well, too. Jalen Clark, it was kind of Jalen Clark was a big reason why things didn't go the way you wanted to go for UCLA. He actually fouled out yesterday, but Bona was huge at the end with that block. Bona had 7 rebounds yesterday as well, 3 on the offensive end. So, they played great basketball, but one thing that they didn't get yesterday that they usually do get is a good effort from their bench. And they had 2 bench points yesterday. That was Will McClendon, who had a bucket. But Will McClendon was key yesterday because he was able to step in for Jalen Clark and show up big time at the end there on the defensive end. So, there's just a lot of things that UCLA had going for them yesterday that just did not work out the way that it usually does, but they figured out a way to win. UCLA was only 1 of 14 from the three-point line and won this game. That's what makes this really incredible to me, but they were able to win the battle at the free throw line. What you got to do is, because Colorado missed 10 free throws yesterday, UCLA wound up missing 7. That's possibly somewhat of a difference in this game as well, too. They made 4 more field goals as well. So when you look at everything, UCLA played in a game that they weren't really supposed to win. Because when you look at the meaty stats, UCLA were outdone when it came to moving the rock. 11-6, Colorado won that battle. With rebounds, UCLA was out-rebounded by 9 rebounds, 38-29 yesterday. And Colorado had 14 offensive rebounds yesterday as well. So that's something that UCLA really does have to clean up. UCLA was able to get where they needed to get to because they were able to force turnovers. They forced 10 turnovers yesterday. They've been so good at forcing double-digit turnovers on teams. That's what keeps them in every single game that they play in. So UCLA, there's a lot of things that need to get worked on at practice this week because this week is going to be the toughest week of the season because they've already clinched the number 1 seed in the Pac-12 conference, but they need to go ahead and solidify themselves as that dominant team in the conference as well, too, because they have Arizona State coming up, a team that is on the bubble as we speak. And then we do have a matchup with Arizona to pretty much, this is kind of a posturing matchup in a sense to where who's going to be possibly the number 1 seed in the Western region for coming up for this tournament right here. And UCLA is riding a 8-game winning streak into this week as well, too. So there's a lot of things to divulge in before we get to Thursday. But, I can't spend all day on the Bruins. But one thing I will say is great win by them last night. Moving forward, they're going to have to really step it up on the offensive end and not get themselves into games like this. But it happens. It was a Sunday. It was a late start to a Sunday as well, too. Not a late start, but, they started in the early afternoon of that game. And so, they had 2 days off prior to that. So it took a little bit for UCLA to get into the game, but they wound up eventually winning the game. So let's go ahead and jump into this week's AP Top 25 and see exactly what's changed in the Top 25 this week. Now, I know that the top 4 teams have not changed out because all of them won. And that's like the first week in like 2 months where the top 4 teams won. So UCLA will stay at the number 4. And Kansas is still number 3, even though I think Kansas needs to move up to number 2 because Kansas did have some really good wins this week. That last week, and when you look at who they beat compared to who Alabama beat, these teams are far better. TCU, that was a tough win right there. They had to go to TCU and get that win. And then West Virginia, who's fighting for their tournament lives, literally gave Kansas everything but the kitchen sink and threw everything at Kansas but the kitchen sink and literally lost the game by 2. So they're sitting here at 3. Alabama, with the team with all the controversy and everything like that, is sitting at 2 right now. They did get a really good win over Arkansas. Arkansas is not ranked, but Arkansas is a tournament team, and Arkansas was a top 10 team to start the season off. So, you do have a lot of different looks when it comes to what the SEC truly is. I feel like Alabama's kind of running away with this thing because the rest of the teams other than Tennessee are kind of having a down season. But here comes Kentucky. That's the whole thing. Here comes Kentucky. And Kentucky's now the number 23 team in the nation. And Kentucky has won so many crucial games here down the stretch. Now, after a 2-game losing streak, back-to-backs to Arkansas and Georgia earlier in the month, they've won the last 4 in a row, and 2 of those games were key because Auburn is a tournament team, Tennessee is a high-seeded tournament team, and Mississippi State is a team that's sitting on the is a team that's on the bubble, is in a bubble you may be in situation right now as well too, because sometimes your coaches up your resume. And Ben Howland is a guy that's been in 3 Final Fours. So, Mississippi State always has an opportunity to join the tournament because the coach that they do have. That does play a part in the committee's decisions as well, too. I know a lot of people will probably say I'm talking crazy, but I've been watching college basketball for 30 plus years, and I've been watching the tournament selection show for at least 25. And literally, they'll put teams in simply because who their coach is. And pretty much, I think Mississippi State does have an opportunity to be in this tournament. They're not going to be like a 5 or 6 seed, but they'll probably be in the 7 or the 8s. Baylor, even with Baylor not, having the greatest week, Baylor's lost their last 2 out of 3, but they've actually moved up a spot because they were able to beat Texas and they moved up to 7. Arizona stays pat, even though they did lose over the weekend. They lost to Arizona State. That's a interstate rival. And the way they lost to Arizona State, you can't penalize Arizona that badly, but they don't really move from anywhere either. Marquette probably made the biggest jump out of anybody. Marquette goes from number 10 to number 6. They finally entered the top five, somewhat inside of the top 5, right outside of it. They're 23-6 right now. Marquette is winning 4 in a row after the Connecticut loss. They've been on their A game, and they're a team that we do have to look out for. Marquette is a team that is coming, and nobody's saying anything. Purdue gets beat, but they don't get dropped. That's the whole thing. Purdue does not get dropped this week, even though they lost to Indiana by 8 points, and they've actually lost their last 4 out of 6 games. But they're not penalizing them because the Big Ten is pretty tough. And getting swept by Indiana, that's kind of crucial right there. But Indiana is a ranked team as well, too. Losing to Maryland, a team that's going to probably be in the tournament, that's key. That's another significant loss, but it won't kill you. And then Northwestern is a tournament team this year, believe it or not. And so pretty much they losing to them by 6, that was kind of critical, but they were on the road as well, too. Now, they did blow out Ohio State here, but when I see a team that's lost their last 4 out of 6 and they're still putting them in the top 5, that means that this team does have something that you can't get away from, and they're still favoring them to win the Big Ten tournament. I still think the Big Ten tournament is wide open. You really don't know who the winner is, especially with a down year for Ohio State and Michigan. Now, I'm looking at Tennessee. They dropped a few spots because Tennessee's a team that has been a little inconsistent lately. They've actually lost their last 4 out of 6 as well, too. Actually lost their last 5 out of 8. Things didn't start off well last week. They lost to Texas A&M, a team that's actually making some big moves towards, possibly being the SEC tourney champ this year because they've been playing great basketball, and nobody seems to be able to win at College Station this year either. So since the Tennessee win over Alabama, they've lost their last 2 out of 3. And they had lost 2 in a row before they went into that game. So Tennessee, after being ranked number 2 in the nation at one point or something of that nature, they were in the top 5. They haven't played well either. Kansas State is starting to recoup a little bit. Kansas State had been dealing with some real headaches, losing 4 out of 5 games. Now they won their last 3 in a row. Virginia, big upset last week. They lost to Boston College early in the week last week, and then lose to North Carolina as well too. So they got their first back-to-back losses since December when they lost to Houston and Miami. So they got Clemson, they got Louisville. These games are going to be very, very, critical for Virginia moving forward. But Virginia is kind of already locked in to be the champs of the circuit. So pretty much there it is with that. And we're going to go ahead and take a quick commercial break. And when I get back, we're going to get into 30 teams in 30 days. And pretty much we're going to get into 30 teams in 30 days. So you guys just stay tuned. This is the premier sports betting show, the PrimeTime Angles, live with the one and only Pop DiBiase, the PrimeTime Capper. And I'll be right back at you.
Good News Only Racing Club, led by the legendary Doug O'Neill, the trainer of 2 Kentucky Derby winners and I'll Have Another and Nyquist. Also trained 2-time Breeders' Cup champ Golden Sense, who are just a part of a long list of thoroughbred champions trained by Doug O'Neill. The Good News Only Racing Club has a young core of horses to look out for in Dennis's Celery, Irish Heatwave, and Notre Dame, just to name a few. Win the day every day with the Good News Only Racing Club, a proud sponsor of the NFL Bet Exchange.
From the East and the West, you've heard others, but now you've tuned into the best. This is a Prime Wave Media production.
Tune into Big Wave Boxing every week with a brand new guest with the one and only Pop DiBiase, PrimeTime Capper, getting the best boxing stories, best boxing angles, and the truth when it all comes down to the sweet science. Tune in to Big Wave Boxing on the Prime Wave Media channel on YouTube.
All right, here we are. Let's go ahead and get back into it. We have ourselves 30 teams in 30 days right now, and 30 teams in 30 days gets us over to the AL Central for this week. Last week we did the AL East, and I picked the Yankees to win the title of the AL East. Also, I have the Orioles going over their 76 wins this year. Boston going under their 77.5 wins this year. I have the Yankees going over 95 wins this year. I have the Rays going under 88.5, and I actually have the Jays going over their 92.5. I think the Jays still only win, they're not going to win 100 games, but they'll win 95. Let's say that. Let's just say that. All right, and then also we have ourselves, and the Yankees are minus 150 to win that division. So let's go ahead and jump into this week, and the teams up first, a team that is near and dear to the south side of Chicago, and it's the city's team. The world's team is the Cubs in Chicago. The city team, though, is the White Sox. Those guys are right there on the south side in the neighborhood. The stadium is classic for that. Nothing better than a day game at the old. I know they've changed the name. All white. I got a bunch of buddies from Chicago who are White Sox fans. They always say they ain't called it Comiskey Park in 30 years, but I'm going to always call it Comiskey Park. You know what I mean? Because it was the new Comiskey Park, and then they came up with the name for it. So pretty much you have that. Now, let's go ahead and talk about the White Sox this season. The White Sox were a team that actually got into a little bit of trouble last year because it seemed like they were destined to win their division, and then they just kind of ran into a buzzsaw of what teams pretty much run into, when it comes down to very clouded division. The AL Central seemed like it was the Twins' world most of the year, and everybody was living in it. And then the Twins went on this weird losing streak for a while, and so things got a little murky there. And the White Sox had an opportunity to take over, and they just couldn't. And then the young Guardians. Sorry, we're still all getting used to calling them the Guardians, but the young Guardians, led by Terry Francona, went ahead and won the division, and actually won the division by 11 games. And it was pretty incredible because they weren't even considered to win. I think they had them at 79 games. They didn't even have them high on the food chain to be that good. They actually had them finishing third or fourth in the division last year. They wound up winning it. Now, the White Sox were my favorite going into it because the White Sox, when you look at their lineup, especially in their 2020 appearance in the playoffs, it gets you a little excited about this team because they have a lot of really good players. And then they have Tim Anderson at the top, one of the better leadoff men in the MLB. So you have a lot of expectations for this White Sox team because they spent a lot of time putting this team together. They've gotten great picks over the years as well, too, in the draft, but it just did not come together the way that they wanted it to. Now, I'm looking at their lineup right now. Andrew Vaughn is a guy that sticks out to me. He's projected to hit 23 home runs with 76 RBIs next season and hit for a 266 average. I think that's going to be key for their 6-hole, because when you look at their first 5 batters, these guys have the potential all-star on them as well. And Lewis Robert is somebody that gets you kind of excited as well too. In that 3-hole, he looks like he's going to be the best hitter in the lineup. Eloy Jimenez looks like he's going to be the power man of the lineup this year as well. And then Moncada, who was really good who's somebody that you can depend on is a tricky situation. I think that he should be good as well too. But Grandal, who's the hitting catcher, I'm very familiar with him from his Dodger days. That guy should be somebody who, if he's raking, if he's hitting, it can be something that's a added bonus to this team as well. But I think that Elvis Andrus's impact will mean the most. I know that it's not like it was in the days when he was with the Rangers, but he's a good vet, and good vets who figure out a way to kind of get a little hot, they can lead teams into greener pastures. And I feel like that's can totally happen with Elvis Andrus in play for the White Sox. Now, you have Dylan Cease coming back around as the ace this year. Dylan is looking to try to get that Cy Young that was just so close, but no cigar. Then Lance Lynn, the veteran, former Astro, he should be pretty good as well too. Coming back this season, the veteran of the crew. And Giolito is looking like he's going to be in the 3-hole, and that's going to be good for a bounce back season, because we know that he was somebody that everybody was fairly high on, but last year he kind of regressed a little bit. You also have Mike Clevinger, who's trying to bounce back after being hurt in San Diego all that time. Now he's back in the AL Central, so he has an idea who he's facing, who he's going against, the former Indian. This is an old school move where you take a guy that was really good against you for a long time, and now he's on your team. You know what I mean? So that's what I'm seeing with Mike Clevinger. And Michael Kopech, once again, probably one of the more hyped up stories in the pitching game, pitching prospects over the last few years. Never has really met expectations, in my opinion. He's still hurt this year. So right now you can't count on him to be there opening day, but at some point he should be around, and they do have him projected to throw 136 strikeouts this year. That would be fourth in the rotation. So I would say, from what they're projecting, and they're projecting him as a guy that's not going to walk a lot of people either. And that's what they're pretty much saying about this starting lineup, this starting pitching rotation, is that they're not going to give up a lot of walks, but they will be striking out a lot of guys. But I know that they'll probably be giving up a good amount of hits though too. But when you look at the ERA is telling you that this going to be it may be a long season if these guys don't get the run support that they need to get. So it's really a on the fence thing with the White Sox, but I truly do feel that the White Sox are a team that you cannot sit here and overlook. I think the White Sox have a great opportunity to win this division as well too. They're sitting at plus 235 as well. I'm not picking them today because I'll have my winner for you guys Friday. But when you look at the three teams that are supposed to compete at a high level in this division, it's going to be the White Sox, the Guardians, and the Twins, just like last year. Royals could probably be a team that comes from the outside, and Detroit at this time, I still give Detroit about 2 years before they really ultra competitive. Even though Detroit did show some glimpses last year of being a team that was on the up and up, I think that they'll possibly be a little bit better, but we'll preview those teams as we move ahead. But right now, I do like the over 83.5 for the White Sox moving forward for this season. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it shakes out. And that's going to be our 30 teams in 30 days. And that's going to be the Chicago White Sox. The Chicago White Sox at over 83.5 wins for this season. You're getting minus 120 on that bad boy as well, too. So let's see how it goes. Let's see how it shakes out. We move forward from there. All right, let's go ahead and jump into some Laker talk, and we got the state of the Lakers. Lakers looking great, looking good. Got themselves a monster win yesterday. A lot of people were ready to write the Lakers off a few weeks ago, and then the trade deadline hit, and all of a sudden, things got a little different, LeBron, a few days before that trade deadline, LeBron broke the record. And there was a lot of people who were not very excited about LeBron breaking the record because, at the end of the day, that affects their argument. You know what I mean? Now they lose another argument with their favorite player, you know what I mean, or their favorite players that they feel are better than LeBron. So, you know, LeBron lost one of the more critical games of his whole entire career when he lost to OKC during that scoring, breaking the scoring record. Then LeBron decided to sit out for 3 games, and a lot of us were like, well, okay, are we throwing away the season? Because even in that game that he broke the record in, you felt like the Lakers, are we really trying to win the game? And then you figured out exactly what was holding the Lakers up. I didn't want to blame Russell Westbrook for the Lakers' shortcomings and why the Lakers kept blowing games in the last minutes that they could have won. And then you start seeing exactly what the Clippers been doing in their first few games with Westbrook, and it feels like that stigma of those close but no cigar wins have moved over to the Clippers. And so now the Clippers are sitting in a position where they are kind of scratching their head, but they still in a playoff position right now. The Lakers aren't. And I just really feel like that was the key move. And then the biggest move of them all, getting Jarrett Vanderbilt. Jarrett Vanderbilt yesterday showed that he's ready to be one of those guys. Somebody that the whole LA can lean on when it comes to a defensive stopper. And that's exactly what the doctor ordered. The Lakers were like in dire need of a defensive stopper. And I felt like Westbrook was our best defensive player with Pat Beverly. And, you know, pretty much they weren't. They were great defensive players, but they're limited because they're guards. And they can they'll be good jumping in the passing lane, things like that. But Vanderbilt is about 6'8", 6'9". Damn, he looked about 6'10" yesterday. And the defense that he put on Luka, when it was time to put defense on Luka, it was absolutely tremendous. Now, we're not going to act like the Mavericks didn't come out like world beaters yesterday, though. The Mavericks came out on fire. But if you know basketball, you knew that once they slowed down the scoring, it could be a game. I'm going to explain to you why. Because what happened in the first half was this. When they went on their nice little run, when they hit I think they hit 10 3-pointers, and most of them were damn near in a row, okay? And they hit 10 3-pointers at one point, going up 27 points, right? I think they had 9. They showed the numbers on TV. The Lakers were 0 for 12 from 3-point line yesterday to start that game off. And they were like 5 for 17 from the regular field. And they weren't shooting any free throws. So I looked at those numbers, and the King and the Mavericks numbers were even worse on shooting twos. They were like 3 for like 18, but they were like 9 for like 17 from the 3. Now, what happened was the Lakers go down 27, 48-21. After that, the Lakers literally chipped down the lead to 13 at the half. They went on a 24-11 run. And I looked at the numbers at the half. I looked at it and said, the Mavericks had 12 3-pointers. They were 12 for 23. They were shooting 50 plus % from the 3-point line in the first half. But I looked at their 2-point situation, and they were absolutely dreadful. They were shooting like 25%. And I told myself, when I saw 10 turnovers at the half, I said that the Lakers are in the thick of this game. And if they can just keep playing this style, they should be right in it. The Lakers started off that next half on a tremendous run, and then found themselves by the end of the quarter actually being down 3 points. And then to start the fourth quarter, the game was tied, and now things get a little different. And the craziest part about it is the Mavericks scored 61 points in the first half. They scored 47 in the second half. The Lakers scored 47 in the first half. They scored 64 in the second half. When you look at the end of the game, the Lakers won 118-108. So it was a tale of 2 games in a sense. You had a game where the Mavericks dominated early, and then you had a game where the Lakers dominated late. and then it turned into a very, very good matchup and was a part of a great day of basketball in the NBA yesterday. And ABC, I know that ABC executives were standing full tilt for that one because they had 4 games, 2 of them on ABC, 2 of them on ESPN, and every single one of them delivered. Every single one of them delivered a great finish, a great game. So the NBA might have needed that kick in the butt. What happened at the All-Star break? Now, let me run down the scoring from yesterday. AD led all scorers with 30 points last night. Also had 15 rebounds and 3 big blocks that 2 of them were key at the end of that game. And he dunked on Luka to go ahead and let him know that, it's still real. And, ain't none of us really scared of you like that. LeBron had his 26 yesterday, 8 rebounds, 3 assists. And then Schroeder had 16 as well yesterday. Schroeder had 8 assists last night. That was key. But Vanderbilt with his 15 points and his 17 rebounds, that was the difference last night. So him and AD actually together got 32 rebounds. And when you add in LeBron, that's 40 in total between 3 guys. The Lakers had 56 rebounds last night. And this was all I was asking for when the Lakers were going through this stretch with Westbrook and the others that were on the team. Can they rebound a bit better? Because if they start rebounding a bit better, things will work out much more. The Lakers had 17 offensive rebounds yesterday. That was absolutely key to winning this game. And the key part to me at the end of the day was the Lakers getting 9 steals in this ball game and forcing 16 turnovers. Okay, that was everything right there. And the 25 turnovers was big too. And shooting 75% from the free throw line, they won that battle as well too. The Lakers actually did shoot 14 more free throws than the Mavericks yesterday, but that's because the Mavericks were playing cheap defense, and that's what happens when you play cheap defense. Now, the Lakers yesterday, you look at their box score on the three-pointers, they made 6 out of 34 threes, while the Mavericks made 20 out of 49 threes. So usually teams that make 23s don't lose that game. That's how good the Lakers were yesterday to just go ahead and handle their business and take care of their business yesterday and win this game 111 to 108. Now the Lakers have moved into the 12 seed, the 12 hole, and they are looking to keep moving because they got a big game coming up Tuesday against the Memphis. And this right here, from what I'm seeing, is the Lakers just a half a game behind Portland right now. They're only a game behind Minnesota and New Orleans, and they're a game and a half behind Utah, and they're also 2 games behind Golden State, who they've actually beat twice in a row the last few games and absolutely dominated them too. Now, that was huge for the Lakers moving forward too yesterday because they got another win over they got a good win over Dallas. Dallas is the 6th seed. Clippers sitting at 10.5, and the Clippers could be the team that drops into the play-in now because they're playing funny basketball right now, losing 2 games in a row. It doesn't really look good right now because they were actually playing pretty good basketball before Westbrook got there. Then you got Phoenix, who got their act together. They're sitting at the 4 seed right now. And then the pesky Sacramento Kings just won't go away, and they're actually a game and a half out from the 2 seed right now, and they're only really 1 game back from Memphis. They got 35 wins. Memphis has 36. And honestly, let's keep it real. We know that Denver's probably going to run away with this thing at 43-19, but that doesn't really matter. The Western Conference is probably the most wide open you'll ever see a playoff bracket be in any season of the NBA. It's just that crucial and that real. But the Lakers come back to this thing Tuesday night. I'll have more for you guys tomorrow as we break down the Lakers and the Grizzlies tomorrow. But I just wanted to go ahead and talk about a great game for the Lakers. Their absolute best win of the season as well, too. And, moving forward, the Lakers have a lot of things going in their favor right now. So with that, we're going to go ahead and get into NBA Monday night. NBA Monday night. Can NBA Monday night be as good as NBA Sunday night? I don't know, but I know that we got a good matchup here with the Heat and the 76ers. Now, the Heat come into this game 32-29, while you have the 76ers who are 39-20. The 76ers are the third seed in the Eastern Conference playoffs right now. Miami is leading the Southeast Division, but they are the seventh seed. So they're in a play-in situation, and they would actually have to play in against one of their division rivals, Washington, if the playoffs started today. In Atlanta, the team right behind them is sitting at the eighth seed right now. So that just goes to show you how bad the Southwest Division is, because then you have two teams below them. And it's funny, is they're a bad division, but they have 3 out of 5 of their teams in the playoff race as well, too. Because, Orlando and Charlotte, they already didn't have playoff expectations. But, Washington is trying to hold off both Indiana and Chicago. So this is an uphill battle till the end of the year between those 3 teams. And, Toronto's kind of loathing around in the mix as well, too. So, when I look at this one, you got Philadelphia 39-20. Philadelphia has kind of been going through the motions. They had a bad loss Saturday against Boston where they could have won the game, but they wound up losing the game in the end because they got a good Jason Tatum shot. But all in all, they've had a great month. They're 7-3 right now for the month of February, and they're feeling good about themselves. You know what I mean? They might be the one team that nobody talks about enough. And I know that they want to hand Jokic the MVP, but I'm like, you just can't really forget about Embiid this year. Embiid is playing out of his mind as well, too. And I think that he deserves every opportunity to win this trophy as well, too. And I'm thinking to myself, Philadelphia is dealing with the tougher task with such a dominant forces in Boston and Milwaukee. So I look at this, and Miami's struggling this month. They're 3-5. They've just lost their last 3-6, actually. They've just lost their last 4 in a row as well, too, after having a 3-game winning streak. So Kevin Love, will he bring some improvement to this team? I think tonight is one of those nights where Philadelphia will get overbet. So I feel like you shouldn't be jumping on Philadelphia with the idea that, the Heat lost 4 games and Philly should be so good in this game. It doesn't work like that. As teams get desperate, and that's exactly what I'm looking at right now with the Heat, that they're getting desperate. And so tonight they're going to bring a playoff effort into this game. Will Philadelphia be ready for that playoff effort? And the game is on NBA TV. These games on NBA TV always tend to favor the underdog in a sense, so I'm not going to pick a side, but I am going to go ahead and say over 217 looks like the play. It's at 216.5, but it's bumped up to 217, and that's what it's going to look like when we get to the super high 5. So let's go ahead and move on to our next game, which is going to be a doozy. It's going to be between 2 really bad teams. They're both basement dwellers as well, too. Come on down, Detroit, and the other. Come on down, Charlotte. So the Pistons and Hornets, 2 teams that never had any goals to be a good team this season, but they got a lot of young talent that you can get excited, that you can drool over. You know that the Hornets have LaMelo Ball, and shout out to Zoe, man. I hope everything works out for Zoe. I hope he gets back on the court, but the knee is not looking good right now. And then you got the Pistons, who have an array of young talent there, and eventually once they all learn how to win, they'll be right where they need to be. And it's so funny that the Pistons, the only highlight of the Pistons season was a brawl that they had with the Magic. Everything else has just been whatever for the Pistons this year. And it's funny because the only highlight they had a few years ago was LeBron getting chased by some crazy man that was on their team. He's still on the roster too. So yeah. So pretty much, and you see how irrelevant Detroit is. I can't even remember the guy's name right now. I know what his name is, but I ain't got a lot of time to look him up. So it's just crazy, man. Pistons coming here. I think the Pistons tonight, they're not playing great basketball, but is Charlotte playing good basketball? And Charlotte just came off of a good win, though. They just beat Miami, and they've actually won their last 4 in a row after starting the month off losing their first 6 in a row. So right now they're 4-6 for the month of February. They got a good win over Atlanta. They had to that was a game that they really had to dig deep but 144 to 138, that's pretty crazy. Then they had San Antonio a few nights later, so that's a win. And then they upset Minnesota at Minnesota, and I was very confident in Minnesota winning that game by double digits, and Minnesota wound up losing by 8. And then you have Miami, and Miami was probably a game that caught all of us off guard, because I actually had the over for my clients in that game. Which wound up happening is that the game went well under, and they won by 5. So they want to finish this month off with a win, and that would mean they would have their longest winning streak of the season at 5 games, because before that they had a little winning streak in I think November, but that was only 2 games. They've only won 2 games in a row this year. So them winning 5 games in a row is a good step in the right direction for a team that really does not have any hope at the end of the day when it comes to the 2022-2023 season. So when I look at this situation with the Pistons, I'm bagging on them, but the Pistons have had a really bad month this month, okay? They're 2-7 this month, okay? And I think when it comes down to it, when you have a team that just lost by 4 points in the prior game, they just lost by 2, they're getting hungry for a win, all right? The only loss they had in these 4 in a row that was a game that they had no shot in was against Boston when they lost by 18, but they only lost to Toronto by 1, and then on Saturday lost to them by 4, and then only lost to Orlando by 2. So this team is desperate to get themselves a win. This is the right spot to get a win. I'm going to go ahead and get a little crazy here. Give me that money line plus 230 as the dog of the day. Let's go ahead, because these are the spots you go do the dog of the day at. It don't matter who's missing on the Pistons, because I know that's why the spread looks like that. But do you really trust the Hornets at the end of the day? And that's a big hell no. So I'm going to go ahead and take the Pistons with the plus 230. Let's see how it goes. Let's see how it shakes out. When they're giving out value like that, you got to grab it. And I said, I've been in this situation before with the Hornets, where the Hornets were a bad favorite. They gave them way too many points. They giving them way too much love. And then we got to go ahead and pop them. And that's how I feel with this game tonight. Give me the plus 230. Let's see how it goes. Let's see how it shakes out. We move forward from there. All right. So let's go ahead and get into the oldest rivalry in basketball, one of the oldest rivalries in basketball, the Knicks and the Celtics. We all know the Knicks and the Celtics go way back, like opening tip of the NBA way back. So you have the Celtics, who were fresh off of a great win Saturday night against their other rival, the Philadelphia 76ers, and they've won their last 3 in a row, and they've been dominant this month as well, too. They're 8-2. This month, and it's just Boston, Jan, another dominant month, another winning month, because Boston has been dominant all season. Like, the only month they kind of had issues was in December, and it's understandable because it's December, but man, they bounced back so good in February. They've lost 2 games, and they've went on 2 multiple winning streaks as well, too. They're riding a 3-game winning streak now, but they had a 4-game winning streak before their last loss. So this team is playing on a really, really high level right now, in my opinion. And then the Knicks, it seems like the Knicks found new life now with bringing in Jay Hart. Jay Hart is critical to a lot of things moving forward for this team. So I feel like with the Knicks, they're doing the damn thing as well, too. The Knicks are actually sitting right now 9-2 this month. Okay, so, the Knicks have played 11 games. That's good for them after they kind of had a month where it was a little back and forth. They had a 4-game losing streak back in January. None of that this month. No back-to-back losses this month. And in their 2 losses, it was to 2 playoff teams as well. With everybody else, they've been taking care of their business. Great win over Utah. Great win over Brooklyn. And then go on the road and get back-to-back wins over Atlanta and Washington, 2 places where it's been tough for them to win at. But they've been dominant against Atlanta all season. Now, beating up on New Orleans, that was something kind of tricky, but New Orleans doesn't have Zion right now either. But they won that one by 22, a big confidence booster in my opinion. So we're going to see how they shape up tonight. But I do like the under 224 in this spot. I think the Knicks and the Celtics are going to have a very hard-fought defensive game tonight at the Garden. So we'll see how it goes, because they just played at the Garden Saturday night. They just had a hockey game yesterday. This floor might be a little cold too, so we'll see how it goes. But 44-17 going against 35-27. The Knicks are sitting pretty in the playoffs right now at the 6th seed, so we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it checks out. We move forward from there. All right, so we have our last game, a game that's an under the radar game, and I probably wouldn't be covering it if we have more than 4 games tonight. So pretty much we got the Magic 25-36. You got the Pelicans 30-31. The Pelicans are absolutely falling apart right now. The Pelicans at one point were the number 1 seed in the Western Conference. Now they're barely in the playoffs. This month hasn't been good. They've lost their last 4 out of 5 games, and they're actually 4-5 this month. They did have a little stretch where they did win 3 in a row, but now they've lost 3 in a row. So this team is really hanging on by a thread right now. Brandon Ingram has been in and out the lineup. He hasn't been as consistent as he was before his concussion. CJ McCollum's doing his absolute best that he can, but we all know that CJ is getting a little bit up there in age, so he's not getting the same point production as he was getting in Portland, even though he's still getting 21 points a game. You got Trey Murphy the third, who's doing pretty good himself. Trey Murphy the third, he's balling. Valanciunas is balling as well too, and then Jason Richardson's holding it down as well. So you got 3 guys in double figures, but you don't have your lead man in there in Zion. Zion has been out for some time now, and we don't know when Zion's coming back either. Like, that's just like the story of Zion's career is like, when's he coming back? I don't know. So pretty much at this point right now, this team is sitting in a position where everything's based on when Zion gets back. So I truly do feel that when you look at this game tonight, you got an Orlando team that is very, very, in a sense, kind of, fickle, And so you have Orlando coming in here, and they've actually are 5-5 this month. So they're at 500. So pretty much with that, they are a team that you do have to take seriously tonight, but they've been doing a lot of lose one, win one, lose one, win one, lose one, win one. That's been their whole month this month. So they lost their last game. So tonight you look at them like they're going to win. Bettors will go to the window and go with that ideology to bet them like that. That's not the case. The Pelicans are at home tonight. It's going to be a good game for them tonight. It's a tough game for them tonight, but it's a very winnable game for them. When I say winnable, that means they should be winning this game by 6 or more. Really, they should be winning this game by double digits. As long as they can choke out Orlando, a team that does have their ineptity on offense, then they should be good. But right now, New Orleans is in a desperate situation because here come the Lakers, here come the Blazers, and really they have no help at this moment. So we're going to see how it goes. We're going to see how it shakes out. But that's that with the NBA Monday night. Let's go ahead and jump into my favorite subject. And I know my nephew, he's sitting up in here right now. I know this is his favorite subject as well, too. So let's go ahead and get it going. And he's a grown-ass man. So, ain't no littles going on over here. So pretty much I know he's watching, because he just sent a comment on YouTube. So let's go ahead and jump into it. Up first, let's talk about the ASUN tourney bets first round. We got Florida Gulf Coast. I got them with the plus 110. And then we got North Florida with the minus 145. So it's a Sunshine State day, baby. Let's see how it goes. Let's see how it shakes out. I know a lot of people I thought you was going to take Queens College. I think Queens College is when you're a brand new team to Division I basketball, just because you had somewhat of a good season against these teams, that doesn't mean that you're ready for the big time. These tournaments are different. Teams take a whole different appeal to them. And I just think that FGCU, with their success before, back about a decade ago, you always have to take them a little seriously here when they're in their tournament. Now, let's move forward and talk about the college basketball PrimeTime PK6 today at 54-1. We got Weber State plus 105. We got Baylor money line plus minus 110. We got West Virginia plus 5.5 today. We got Grambling with the 7.5 today. We have Prairie View A&M with the plus 100. And then we finish up with Alcorn State, single what you like. All right, now we got the dog day pick 4. We got FGCU sitting at the plus 115. We also have FA. We also have Florida A&M sitting at plus 255 as our college basketball dog of the day. And then we also have Norfolk State sitting at plus 135, probably the best team in there in the MEAC. But, you know, they're going to have to go ahead and send the message here on the road. That's what it looks like to me. And then you got Idaho State that's in a toss-up game. And I just feel like you got to go ahead and take the value here. And I'm taking on Idaho State with the plus 195. All right, so let's see how it goes. Let's see how it shakes out. We move forward from there. All right, we're going to end with our pick 4 tonight, 22-1 in the NBA. We got the Pistons money line, dog of the day in the NBA, plus 230. We also have the over 217 with the Heat and the Pistons, the under 224 with the Celtics and the Knicks, and then the -4 with the Pelicans at 22-1. That's going to be our ticket in the NBA tonight. So let's see how it goes. Let's see how it shakes out. And as I always like to say, single what you like. All right. Okay, so once again, I want to thank you guys so much. I had a lot of fun doing the show today. I know I had a lot of energy for the show today. There's a lot to talk about, but you know, I only want to spend an hour here because I don't want to lose you. Because we know we got a lot of these shows that they sit up here and talk for an hour and a half, 2 hours, and they lose you by the first 30 minutes. So I'm trying not to lose you. You know what I mean? So it is what it is at the end of the day. This is the premier sports betting show, the PrimeTime Angles, with the one and only Pop DiBiase, the PrimeTime Capper. I'll be right back at you tomorrow at the same time, or 1 o'clock. I'll make the announcement on the Twitter, but you guys make sure you tune in, you retweet, you share, whatever you got to do. Let's get those numbers up, okay? So as I always like to say, bet with your head, not with your heart. The movement is moving, and I am gone.
From the East and the West, you've heard others, but now you've tuned into the best. This is a Prime Wave Media production.